This is The Professional Stepdad, a place where we share stories, strategies, and ideas for men just like you to help answer that one important question: how can I be a better stepdad? All right, everybody, welcome back to the Professional Stepdad Podcast. I'm your host, Franco Zavala, episode 23, jumping right into it. First and foremost, I hope everybody's doing okay. I hope everybody's amazing and great. Stepdads, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this 1,000 times over. Everything you're doing, including the whole stepping up thing, is amazing. Everything you're doing is wonderful. And if you are constantly searching for that attaboy or that good job, allow me to be the person to give it to you, because I believe that if you're in the position like I'm in, where you're a stepdad to children, and you've come into a situation where most men would run away from, that you are unbelievable. So again, thank you for being you. Thank you for just taking the time out of your life to teach, mentor, and love not only somebody else's kids, but to be put into a position where most people want to see you fail behind closed doors, right? So you're doing great, man. Okay, I'm gonna jump right into it. This is something that I read today. It's interesting because, and the reason I'm jumping into this subject today is because I am a firm believer that it is very hard to give advice to anyone unless you've done two major things. One, you've gone through it. And two, you've done the mental work to work through it. Meaning that you've let it go, right? That you're not that person anymore. For instance, myself, growing up, my father was not much of a talker when it came to punishment. It was more of like spankings and whippings and, right? I mean, if anybody has ever been scared of a wooden spoon, then you know the kind of childhood that I had, and you've probably had the same one, especially if you're in my demographic. I'm gonna be 42 this year. So I'm reading these, I'm on a lot of different Facebook groups, and 99% of it is just, venting. And what kills me is that a stepdad will come on here, or like even the step parenting groups I belong to, a stepmom will go on, and they'll start off with, "Sorry, I had to rant." Let me make something clear to you. If you're in a position in your life where you feel like you need to rant to a bunch of strangers and not communicate with your partner, you have much, much deeper problems than you're presenting to us, right? Most of the problems that are presented on social media are just like the tip of the iceberg, right? God forbid we were to actually share what's really going on. So this gentleman, his name is Josh, he's saying that his stepson is a real handful for him and his mom. His attitude, his energy levels, he's constantly arguing. They're blaming a lot of what's going on. I guess he's cussing, and they're saying that Fortnite is the problem. So they're doing things like, let me read you this. Whooping don't work. Timeout doesn't work. He hates sentences, whatever that means. We tried that, but maybe that's like write out what you did wrong. Maybe that's what that means. But the holy crap. But it's a holy crap word for hours arguing just to get 25 sentences written on a piece of paper. He's asking for help. Like, what can I do? So this is just an 8-year-old that is lashing out, that is cussing a little bit. He's arguing with not only his stepdad, but his mom, showing no respect to anybody. So the suggestions on here are very much, the best way I can put them are they're stupid as hell, right? These people are telling this guy to set him outside, or honest. This is an honest reply. Have you tried beating him? Take his games away. Take his phone away. He probably doesn't have a soul. Be careful. Lock up the guns and ammo. Sounds like you guys need family counseling. This young man is headed for trouble. Take his games away. So point I'm trying to make here is this. The advice that we receive from people, especially strangers on the internet, don't don't take it too serious unless it's advice that is actually going to propel you forward into positively developing a relationship with your stepkids. I mean, if the advice that you're receiving doesn't make you think and doesn't make you first self-reflect on you and then open up the lines of communication with your partner before you decide to handle the situation with your stepkid on a level that they can understand, if you can't pass those 3 barriers and you jump right to the gun of where most of these idiots are giving this guy advice that is very just out of this world stupid, right? So what this tells me is this. What it tells me is that for the most part, as men, but as stepdads, okay? So it's important to understand that you need self-reflection. You need to be doing the work. You need to be doing the work on you, because the last thing you want to do is give yourself another obstacle and another wall to have to climb when it comes to the life that you are currently living when it comes to with your stepfamily or with your family. Meaning, like for me, I'll give you exactly what I mean. So for me, if I was to raise my children, my 5 kids, I've got 4 girls and 1 boy. If I was to raise my children like my parents raised me, or like the men or women around me raised me, then my children would not only not know who I am, but they would constantly fear me. And they probably wouldn't have a level of connection with me to where they're comfortable enough to talk to me. And I say that wholeheartedly because I love my parents, right? But the way they parented me was shit. They never took the time to really get to know who I was and what my language was and how to communicate with me properly in order to motivate me in a way where it made me want to be better and it made me want to do good. So if I was to bring that into my relationship that I'm currently in, my relationship with my kids would be screwed. My relationship with my wife would be horrible. But fortunately, I had enough common sense to understand that. And the only way for me to be the very best man, husband, father, and leader that I can be within my family, I first needed to let go of who I was and how I was raised and all the negative stuff. I kept a hold of a lot of values, right? I kept a hold of a lot of great things my parents did teach me. Like my dad taught me the importance of crying. Like my dad was a man's man, but he also cried, and I loved that. But I couldn't bring that person I couldn't bring all of that into this relationship with my kids because it would have never worked. It would have never worked, and I would have given myself another obstacle to have to climb because I already have enough obstacles. I already have the fact that, I already have the you're not the bio dad obstacle. I already have the you can't punish them obstacle. I already have the, the people want to see you fail obstacle and so on and so forth. But I have to be willing to make peace with the fact that in no way was I ready to be a stepdad. In no way was I ready to be a father at all. But I was prepared for the journey mentally, and I had like this inner desire to be the best that I could be, right? I didn't bite off more than I can chew, but I also didn't try to overwhelm myself with becoming this painted, commercial version of what I thought a father should be. So when this gentleman receives advice like he's receiving on here, the only thing I think is this guy probably came on here expecting some honest feedback, maybe some positive, like try this before you do that type stuff. And instead he's getting the versions of what these people would do. And it tells me that what I'm doing with this Professional Stepdad podcast, what I'm doing with connecting with other men to sharing their stories and their positive outtakes and how they can use that to help other stepdads grow. I know now that I'm in the spot that I'm supposed to be in because I'm reading things like this. So this gentleman is saying things like, like I said, his kids arguing with him and they're fighting and yelling and cussing and he doesn't like doing chores and nothing's working. Here's the thing. Why is he doing that? Meaning this. Of course, you can't just go, hey, why are you doing this? Because if he knew why, obviously he would do what he has to do to have, to have the kids stop. But why? Like, sit back and ask yourself, okay, why is he out lashing out like this? Why does he feel the need to argue? Why does he feel the need to talk to his mother and me like that, and his attitude and his energy levels? Like, why? What's deeper in that? And if you haven't done the work, and when I say work, I mean the patient work. If you haven't done the work to really get to know who your children are on an intellectual and a communication level to where you can properly read them and communicate with them so that they open up to you, then you're going to find yourself like this gentleman, which is chasing his tail. I'm willing to bet that this guy has never taken the time to work on himself. I bet you if him and his wife, if he's doing it to him and his wife, it's driving both of them nuts. It's telling me that the connection that he has with his partner is also not good. It doesn't mean it's not happy. I'm not saying that he's not happy. I'm saying that their communication and the way they handle things in their house as a team is broken. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying this guy's bad. Josh is not a bad guy. He's probably a great guy. But Josh hasn't done the work because nobody's ever told him to do the work, or because he has some sort of negative label on what it means to do personal growth work for yourself, and then what it means to actually do that with your partner in order to attack and properly manage your children within the home, especially ones that lash out and want to do crazy stuff. The kid is screaming for attention. Like, wake up, Josh. This kid is literally screaming for attention. He wants somebody to pay attention to him, but not just pay attention to him in like a, let's go throw the ball, Timmy type of way, but he's speaking on a level, and he's speaking a language on a level that if you were to tune in correctly, Josh, you would be able to understand exactly what's going on with your stepson. The problem is that you're not even on the same frequency as him, because you are so focused on everything that he's doing wrong that you probably couldn't make a list of the things that he does right. I'm willing to bet that on one of these things, Josh says, one of the punishments to get his Fortnite back was to go outside and mow the lawn. Josh, go outside with him. Do the chores with him. Josh, play Fortnite with him. Connect with him on a level so you can communicate with him properly. I mean, he's lashing out. He's driving you and your wife nuts. He's obviously seeking attention like all children do. But if he's gotten to the point where it's affecting your relationship with you and your wife, it's because you both are not properly communicating with your son at all. And when I say communicating, I don't mean like just words. I mean on a level that your son can understand. Give you an example, Josh, and other stepdads. My son has a love language of quality time. Okay, and I know I talk about this a lot, so I'm going to actually post all the love languages right here, and then the book. I'll put the book over here where I get these from, and it's a book that I read, but only after I read the love languages for adults. Okay, but anyway, my son's love language, in a way that you communicate with him on a nonverbal way. My son's love language is quality time. So when my son messes up, because every kid messes up, talks back, drives their parents nuts. Every child does that. You are not alone. And nor are you reinventing the wheel here. But every single child does this. Now, my son's love language is quality time. So if I were to, for instance, punish my son by sticking him in his room and closing him door and saying, don't leave here, don't play your video game, just sit your ass on that bed and don't move, I am not communicating with my son properly. So when he does something wrong, and I close the door on him and I make him sit alone, I'm making matters worse. Because his communication, his love language, is quality time. What that tells me as a father is two things. One, it's an opportunity to sit with my son and to actually talk with him about what he's doing, why he's doing it, where is it coming from, and how can we fix it. But doing it on a level that not only he understands, but next to him. I sit next to him and we talk. We talk it through. Gone are the days where you don't have, men are men and suck that shit up, Timmy, and grow up to all that shit is done. But the reason I have this relationship with my son is because I understand his communication level. And because I understand it, I understand that. So when I see it, I can properly act it. But more important, the relationship that I have with my wife is on that same level, so we communicate properly, so we know how to handle something. Mind you, do we do it right all the time? No, nobody does. Disclaimer, every parent screws this up all the time, every moment of the day. We all want to do great things, and we all screw up a lot of things. But my son's communication level, like I said, is quality time. So for me, the way for me to get through to him is to sit him down and talk. And it's funny, guys, you can actually punish your child by not raising your voice on a level and in a way where he can learn a lesson and understand the consequences of that. I hope that makes sense, Josh. These idiots that are telling you to beat him and to take his stuff away, I'm willing to bet that's not the right direction you should go. I'll put a lot of money on it. But again, Josh, it's hard to get to that point where you can properly communicate with your son on a level that he'll understand, and you can communicate with him on a level that will actually affect real positive change, so you can see that bad behavior start to dissipate and go away. It takes a lot of patience, but it takes a lot of study. It takes a lot of study to understand the way you are. Stepdads, one of the things that I do more than anything is my facial expressions and my mood swings can affect my entire family. It affects everyone, right? And so one of the things that I'm working on this year for me is my nonverbal communication. What are the things that I'm doing nonverbally that could help me better my relationships with my kids and my wife? And it's not been a struggle by any means, but sometimes I don't even realize that I'm doing it. But what I love is the fact that I have an open communication with my wife and an agreement with her, so that when I do it and she calls me out on it, I don't take it personal, because I've already mentally done the self-work on me, and I've accepted the fact that I need to have somebody hold me accountable for the things that are not working within the home. And an accountability partner, i.e. your partner or your husband or wife, your accountability partner is huge. But more important, you have to separate, your wife loves you, but your accountability partner holds you accountable. My wife is a fitness competitor, okay? So she's an amazing mother, but when I'm eating shitty and she tells me about it, man, it bothers me, but I also can't argue with it because she's a professional at it, right? So, I want, one of the, I guess where this is leading to, stepdads, is that be wary of the advice that you receive, especially when you post it to the public. Understand that most men, most parents, most adults have never done the work to properly let go of how they were raised and the things that they were bringing into the relationships that are negative and poisonous. And because of that, the advice that you receive is going to be along the same lines as the things that they do in their home, which I guarantee also don't work. So it's important to understand that the nonverbal communication that you have with your family, the way to communicate with your stepkids on a level that they not only understand, but they will listen, is big as stepdads. It's real big. Because when you can get to that point, arguments come and go. punishments don't really even feel like punishments, even though the punishment fits the crime. And you develop this level of confidence as a stepdad to the point where, and I know I said this yesterday, to the point where when Father's Day comes around, you don't resent it. You actually feel like the leader. Well, that's what a father is, guys. Father's Day is Leader's Day. Let's call it like that. Let's call it Leader's Day. Because there are a lot of families out there that don't have any dads and mothers that work 2 jobs and raise 2 to 3, 5 kids and are killing it. Happy Father's Day to you guys, because happy Leader's Day, right? So stop looking at that again like it's such a bad thing. But the only way you can confidently feel that way is to be confident about it. And the only way to get that way is to do the self-work and to understand your children. I mean, guys, nobody ever said this when you first became a father. Nobody ever said this when you first became a stepdad. Nobody has ever told you this. You can't learn this in any school. The only way to properly win within your home is to do 3 main things, and it's to work on yourself, work on your teamwork with your partner, and then focus on the children. That's the 3 main things. So if you're doing that, then keep doing it. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. I'm still trying to get this stuff right. And I've been doing it for almost 10 years, right? But I've made my peace with it. I've made my peace that I've got to pivot, adjust, change. Things will happen, coronavirus to riots, to all these things are going to happen in the world. But I'm mentally ready for it. And I want to get you there too. So guys, that's what today's episode's about. Pay attention to the advice that you're getting. And more importantly, stop putting your shit out on the internet to complain. You know, start working on the relationship with your partner so that you can actually talk to them about it. I mean, they are your biggest champion. Like if I were to need advice on my daughters, let's say, I wouldn't post it on the internet. I would just talk to my wife, and then we would develop a game plan. Then we would test the game plan. Then we would find out what works and what doesn't. We would take out the bits and pieces, and then we would test it again. And again and again and again and again until we had some sort of a smooth trail. Because again, it can never be a straight line. And we had some sort of control on certain things that we talked about when we started the whole, okay, what do we do as a team in order to make this better? Understand? Stop putting your shit out to the world. And if you start sentences off on the internet, which is, I just have to rant, do yourself a favor and go look in the mirror and ask yourself, why do I feel the need to complain to strangers when I can talk to my partner? Right? I mean, there are bigger problems than that, guys. Way bigger. You're just, I don't know, maybe you just need people to hear your misery so you can somehow feel comfortable that other people are miserable. I don't know. But I'm curious. Anyway, so I will be, rewind back so you can see the love languages in the book that I read. And I will also, right here, this is the love languages for adults. I didn't want to read this. I thought it was a bunch of bullshit. And then I read it and I realized that I was full of shit. It's an eye-opening moment for me as a stepdad, as a man, and as a husband, as a father, and as a leader. Guys, I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday Q&A, where I literally will just be answering a lot of questions. Make sure to follow me on my social media accounts. If you can, do me a favor, drop a subscribe to this. The bigger the platform is, the better information that I can get from other stepdads around the world, so that we can better prepare the next generation. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Quiet on the set, please. Thank you, everybody.